Second, with recordings. Great. All right. Yeah, folks, continue to introduce yourselves in the chat. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Let us know if you have any New Year's resolutions. I'm sure we could use some inspiration. But we can get started. I know folks will continue kind of trickling in over the next couple minutes. Great. Hi, I'm Sadie Olin. I'm your events and partnerships lead for the Google for Startups Women Founders community. Welcome to 2025. I know we're kind of past the date when we can say Happy New Year, but I hope your New Year's are off to great starts. We have some great sessions planned this year. We'll be kicking things off with this discussion around personal branding. What better way to set ourselves up for success than to talk about the focus, the core of your business's you. So we have our personal branding session today, but we also have a deep dive to take it a step further a week from today at the same time. So I've added the registration link for that session in the calendar invite for today, so you can really easily sign up for that if you haven't had a chance already. Before we kick off into the fun stuff, we have a few housekeeping items as always. So since this is a virtual meeting, we encourage everyone to have your cameras on so that we can connect with each other better. And then just in the interest of time, we are going to hold questions until the end, and we've carved out some time for a Q&A within the hour. We just ask that everyone mute their mics so that background noise isn't coming through, and as soon as I stop talking, I'll be doing the same thing. A little bit of background on our community. Well, first, special welcome to all of our existing community members. Thank you for being a part of this. But for those who are new to the community, we just wanted to give you some background on how we came to be and how you can join the community if you aren't already a member. So the Women Founders community is an arm of the Google for Startups organization. We came from the Accelerator program, but this community was really designed as a safe space to connect and inspire female-led startups. Our goal as a community is to really create a safe space for you to connect with other like-minded women founders, provide resources to push your businesses forward, and to position women founders as role models for other entrepreneurs. And we do that really with our monthly events like this one. We have a quarterly newsletter that actually went out earlier this week. And we have our Slack channel, which has reached over 1,000 participants. And on the Slack channel, you can connect directly with other women founders in the community on your own time. You can talk about your wins, your challenges, questions that you have, and then stay in the know on all of the community programs that we have. So keep an eye out throughout the year for those events and opportunities around those 3 pillars. And then lastly, we just ask that you provide feedback at the end of the session. We just want to make sure that we're continuing to improve and bringing you the most relevant resources for you. Also, if you aren't a member of the community or the Slack channel, you can register for one or either or both of those through the post-event survey. So I'm going to send this link out at the end of the session. I'll also put it in the email follow-up for the session. So keep an eye out for that. It takes like 3 minutes. We would really appreciate it. And I will send the recording out with that by the end of the week. So keep an eye out for that as well. If you have to jump early, if you'd like to go through any of the session content that we have today, you can do that there. And with that, let's talk about personal branding. So this session will be led by Sakina. She's actually an ex-Googler, but we are thrilled to bring your wealth of knowledge to our community. Sakina, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Nice to meet you, everyone. Amazing. So I'll share my screen in here. Can everybody see my screen? I guess yes. Thumbs up if you can see it. Super, amazing, thank you. So very nice to kick off the first section actually of the Google for Startups Women Founders initially for 2025. Before we get started, I would love to give you a couple words about myself, so a quick introduction. My name is Sakina, very nice to meet you. I'm an ex-Googler, as Sadie mentioned. I was working in Google Dublin as an account manager about 2 years ago, and then I left Google to start my own business. So today I'm running a company. It is a branding agency called Scene. So we're headquartered in the UAE, in Dubai. And what we essentially do is that we help founders, C-levels, B2B companies, but also accelerators to learn more about personal branding and company branding. So we work very closely with founders and we make sure that they can build personal brands that stand out on LinkedIn to be able to drive visibility, but also obviously to drive more business clients to buy their services and products. So jumping back to the slide here, what we're going to be focusing on today essentially is going to be what is personal branding and how can you leverage it for your business as a founder. So we're going to be starting with a deep dive into LinkedIn personal branding. How has it emerged? What is it? Is it something new on LinkedIn or has it been around for a long time? we're going to be looking into LinkedIn profile optimization as well. So you probably know as a founder that to make sure you're getting visibility and getting people to contact you on LinkedIn, you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is optimized the right way. So we will be looking into that. And then obviously the last part of this presentation will be about leveraging your brand as a founder. So really making sure once you have the profile set up, once you have your content engine in place, how can you make sure that you're driving your network to grow with the right connections? We will obviously have some time for Q&A, so you will get to ask all of your burning questions about personal branding and obviously any questions that you might have on the presentation as well. So without further ado, let's get into LinkedIn branding. So I'm pretty much sure many of you are familiar with the term, but LinkedIn branding is actually something that has emerged in the past 5 years. So we all know LinkedIn as the platform where everyone goes to apply for jobs, to change careers, or where companies list positions to be matched with candidates. Personal branding is actually a term that has emerged in 2022 on LinkedIn. Before that, LinkedIn wasn't a creator, let's say, friendly platform as Instagram or Facebook might be, for instance. What happened is that people started realizing that LinkedIn is not just a way to show your static CV or to show your professional achievements, but it's also a place where you can connect with recruiters, with your colleagues, with B2B leadership as well on a deeper level, and to show who you are as a person behind your LinkedIn profile. So what happened is that once personal branding was introduced, it pretty much boomed. With LinkedIn introducing the creator mode to the platform, over 50 million people started creating content and starting sharing their insights, their journey, and their learnings, and building a community. And these people actually very quickly realized that the posts that they were publishing were getting on average 3 times more engagement than the company posts. So this meant that people related more to these founders, to the C-levels, and to these employees than they did to the company that they worked for, which is very funny. And what started happening as well is that people started trusting the information provided by individuals more than the ones shared by companies. So founders understood that they really have an unfair advantage through LinkedIn to be able to drive engagement and visibility and to connect with decision makers. Moreover, there has been a lot of research done on personal branding on LinkedIn, and companies whose executives are actually present and engaging and posting content on the platform are reported to generate 30 to 35% higher turnover for the company. So obviously, there is a direct correlation between personal branding and business growth and revenue growth as well. Let's look a little bit into the examples that we gave. So personal branding is driving more engagement than company branding. Since we're talking about Google here, I thought it would be relevant to include in a post from the company page and then a post from Sundar Pichai. And you can pretty much see in the numbers that the reach and engagement that we got for Google's page is way lower than the one that we got for the CEO of Google. And you might ask yourself, why is that? Simply because Sundar is a person and people in business connect with people. People relate to other people. People want to buy from other people. So it doesn't matter how prestigious a company is or how big of an audience a company page has, you will still notice that people would rather interact and read content from C-levels, from CEOs, and from personal profiles. Which takes us here to the question, why does LinkedIn branding matter for me as a founder? So we have many women founders here in the room, and you might ask yourself, am I really missing out on something by not leveraging my LinkedIn? And the answer is actually yes. I've worked with quite a bunch of CEOs and founders to be able to answer this one. But if you are not using LinkedIn or advertising yourself as a founder in your business, you're really missing out on a lot of potential. You need to know that right now, LinkedIn has crossed the 1 billion users globally, and only 25% are currently engaging and creating content on the platform, which again means that you have a crazy unfair advantage and a crazy opportunity to be able to reach decision makers through the platform. Moreover, as we have said, most companies, and I would say even all companies nowadays, are present on LinkedIn, which means that all C-levels or B2B decision makers that could be, your potential partner or your potential investor or your potential clients are actually present on the platform, and you can get to contact them most of the time for free just by sending a message. LinkedIn is also responsible for generating more than 80% of all B2B social media leads compared to all other platforms. And when you think about the contents, visibility and impressions that you can get, on average, LinkedIn users today are getting nearly 8 billion content impressions daily. So just for your knowledge, an impression on LinkedIn is the number of times your content gets seen on someone else's feed. And this is some kind of direct marketing that you can be driving just through posting content. Which takes us into the what is the personal branding question. I think it's very relevant for you to also understand where does personal branding come from, to be able to understand how to apply it to your own case as a founder. So the way that I like to define personal branding is that it's a mix of your identity, but it's also a mix of your expertise and skills. Essentially, your personal brand is going to be the first thing that people see about you as a founder or as a person in general. If someone Googles your name or your company's name, then the first result that is most likely to show up is going to be your LinkedIn profile. What does that mean for you? That means that you need to make it as good as possible and as engaging as possible. Imagine if you were walking into a conference and you were, handshaking someone and presenting yourself, handing out a business card. Your LinkedIn profile is your virtual business card. It's exactly the thing that is going to introduce you to other people virtually who you haven't met in the same room yet. So you really want to make sure that it's polished, that it's up to date, and it reflects who you are as a person, besides your professional achievements. If you decide to build your personal brand, you're not just going to be gaining visibility, but you're also going to be able to gain something that is extremely important in the creator's economy, which is building an audience. So essentially, you will attract the right people to join you in your mission, and you will have people cheering you up, but also potentially buying your products or services because they connect with you on an emotional and on a human level, which is something that no other marketing channel can kind of be able to replicate. When I think of the pillars of personal branding and when I explain this to my clients, I always like to keep it up in these 5 blocks. The first pillar is obviously credibility. You will see a lot of people on social media, on LinkedIn particularly, trying to draft an image of themselves that they're not. You need to keep in mind that your personal brand needs to be credible. It needs to be reflecting who you are. It needs to be talking about your achievements, about your stories, about your challenges. So you need to keep it as close as possible to who you really are. The second one is visibility. And this is actually directly correlated to the credibility one as well. The more credible you are, the more able you are to engage an audience, the more visible you will be on LinkedIn. The more your posts will be pushed on someone else's feed, even if you're not directly connected to them. The third one is relevance. You need to make sure that the content you're sharing is relevant to your target audience. What does that mean? Essentially, that means that you need to be providing value, you need to be solving a problem or educating them in some way. The relevance is going to also help you to be authentic in your approach, because you will showcase yourself as a leader, as a thought leader in your space, and as someone who has the right answers to your audience questions. Last but not least is the emotional connection. The emotional connection is the feeling that you're going to be creating with your audience once they read your posts and engage with your content. This is something extremely important because it's going to be fostering loyalty and engagement on the long time for you as well. In terms of benefits of personal branding, I feel like there are so many, but I always try to keep it short and to keep it kind of, relatable to the audience that I'm presenting to. But benefits of personal branding for founders, what are they? Mainly these 4. First one is networking. By being present on the platform and having a strong personal brand, you're going to be able to gain networking opportunities. You're going to be able to reach decision makers faster, but also you're going to be able to simplify connections to potential investors or to potential clients through your mutual connections. The second one is audience. We have mentioned this already, but there is a big trend right now on the internet that is called the digital currency. Digital currency is the ability to build an audience that can encourage you in your journey. This is something that you can buy with money. Of course, you can buy fake followers, but that's not the same effect. If you're able to create content that drives engagement, you're going to be able to build a loyal audience of people who will follow you through your journey and potentially buy from you if you decide to start selling your products or services. The third one is obviously investor confidence. As founders, if you're looking for investment, if you're looking for external funds or to raise funds for your business, you need to make sure that investors see you as someone who's trustworthy and someone who has a mission and has a why behind their company. The research on LinkedIn shows that more than 60% of people, when it comes to investors, one of the first things that they do before investing in a company is checking the CEO's profile. So they want to know who this person is, they want to know what drives them, and they want to see what kind of human being is behind this company. So by being able to be present on LinkedIn and by building personal branding, you will be able to attract the right investment opportunities, and you will be most likely to get answers from investors that you reach out to. The fourth one is a pillar that is extremely essential for founders. Obviously, when you're starting a company, you want to gain visibility. You want to be able to speak at events, to join conferences, to drive engagement towards your mission. Having a strong personal brand is going to give you access to PR and media collaborations. You will have conference leads reaching out to you. You will have perhaps local newspapers who want to feature you in one of their editions because they recognize you as a leader in your space. And the only way that you would be able to achieve this is by making yourself visible in the first place. Which takes us to the first step when it comes to building a personal brand on LinkedIn. We've talked a lot about the theoretical side of personal branding. What is it? How was it born? Why is it important for founders? But the question that I get all the time is, okay, that sounds good, but how do I actually do it right? How do I get started with personal branding? I've never used LinkedIn. I've never published a post. I don't know where to start from. And that's exactly what we're going to be looking into in this first place. So just a couple reminders of things that we have mentioned already in the previous slides, but LinkedIn has crossed 1.2 billion users in 2025, which means that the platform gives you access to an incredible amount of people that could be joining you in your business initiative as collaborators, as sponsors, as investors, or as potential clients within your audience. The first step that you need to keep in mind when it comes to building your personal brand is to have a profile that is optimized. What does that mean? It doesn't just mean have a profile that reflects your expertise and your current focus, but it also means having a profile that acts as a landing page, so that when people click on it, they know exactly who you are, what you're doing, what is your mission on the platform, and what they can expect from you in terms of content. So how do we do that? I have tried to put together here for you what I call a LinkedIn optimization checklist. These are the main elements that you need to make sure are optimized in your profile if you want to get started with personal branding. And we're going to go quickly through them to really explain what they are and how they can impact your profile visibility. The first one is going to be your headline. The headline is the line that appears right after your name on LinkedIn. So you have your name, and then under it, you have a space where you can write in about your current position, your company, etc., etc. The mistake that so many people make is that they use the headline to only list their job position. So for instance, if you're an account manager at Google, you will write an account manager. The thing is, when someone searches through their LinkedIn connections, they will see probably 200 people with the same headline. There are many people who are working as account managers within Google, for instance. So what you need to do is that you need to craft something that resonates with your mission and resonates with what you do. Let's say, for instance, you're a client who's working in the financial space. A potential headline could be, I simplify finance for B2B businesses, so that when people click on your profile, they know who you are, they know what you do, and they know how you help people and how you drive value to them towards your LinkedIn profile. The second thing is what we call a CTA in marketing, or call to action. A CTA is going to be something that drives people to take action from your profile to an external link. This could be, for example, a Calendly link like book a call with me, a link directly to your calendar. It could also be the link to your newsletter if you have one. It could be a link to your website. It could be a link to a standard static page about some investment that you're raising. A CTA is extremely important because it drives people to take action and not just to enter your profile and then leave it straight away. A CTA is a very good way of catching attention and driving people to do something after connecting with you. The CTA, as we have mentioned, could also be the link to your website that we have right afterwards. And the next thing that you need to make sure you keep in mind is the banner. So many people will have very generic banners. I've seen some nice sunsets, some people having their cats in their LinkedIn banner, which is very cute and amazing. But essentially, does it serve a purpose and does it help your business grow? Not really. So what does your banner need to reflect in this case, right? A banner needs to be reflecting your company's mission. One thing that I advise our clients to do within my agency is to use the headline within the banner as well. We have given an example previously. If you're someone who works in finance and helps B2B organizations, your headline could be, I simplify finance for B2B organizations. This is something you can also include in your banner. This is something that stands out when people click on your profile, and it's going to help them to know what they can expect from you. A banner should also have a color code that reflects your company's brand colors. It's always nice to see a LinkedIn profile where you can kind of see this unicity when it comes to the color. You see some correlation. For instance, if your logo is black and white, I definitely advise you to use that color code for your banner as well. The fifth point that we have here as well on the slide is an optimized about section. Another thing that people make when it comes to mistakes on LinkedIn is that they use the About section to talk about their previous experience only. That is great. Obviously, it's always nice to push your background and to show people what have you done in the past. But your About section should be focused about the present and the future. People who are reading your LinkedIn profile, they want to know what is it that you're working on now and what are your aspirations for the future. If you're someone who's building a company in the AI space, mention that. Mention what is your vision, what is your drive, what are you currently sending? Are you looking for investments? Have you signed a recent sponsorship? This is something that can be included in your About section and that will make it much more engaging than someone just talking about their graduation and their diplomas, which obviously are valuable, but can be kept within the experience section. The sixth point is the strong featured section as well. So for those of you who might not know what a featured section is, this is an option that appears right after the About section, where you can pin posts that you have shared in the past. For instance, if you have spoken at a conference or given a speech and you have posted about it, you can use the featured section to pin those posts at the top of your profile so that those are the first things that people see when they click on it. The last but not least, which we will be deep diving into, is having a clear content framework. And we will see what that is and how to build one. LinkedIn profile best practices. I just thought I would put in here a visual representation of what I have just driven you through. As you might see here, I have included what a banner should have. So we have set a mission statement, I simplify X for X audience, for instance, a company logo, which is extremely important, making sure that you're reflecting the company where you're working at the moment at the top of your profile. So many people don't notice, but sometimes they have their past university as their current company. This is also something that could cost your company visibility because people don't see what you're currently doing and they might think perhaps you're still finishing your master's or your MBA when it's sometimes not the case. Here you can see also the headline that I mentioned, which usually is after your name. I definitely advise you to mention your position. For instance, if you're a CEO or a founder, CEO at X company, and then keep the sentence flow with a mission statement, simplifying X for Z, simplifying this for a target audience. Then what we have also seen is to make sure you include a CTA, which could be work with us, book a call, learn more, which can either be included as a link directly after your position, or you can also include it on your banner. I wanted to show you here a quick example of a client that I have worked with recently to see how a profile optimization can really make not just a visual effect when it comes to LinkedIn, but how it also helps you to drive business growth. So this is a client that came to me last year in November, and he wanted to really optimize his LinkedIn presence. For instance, he's a CEO and founder of a leading M&A, mergers and acquisition company in the UAE market, so within Saudi and UAE and Riyadh as well. And what he wanted to do essentially was to make sure that he was reflecting his expertise through LinkedIn. As you can see here on this slide, we have started on his profile with a lack of credibility. He didn't have a big audience. He didn't have many connections. There is no brand color consistency. There is no banner. You can't really understand what is it that, in this case, Marwan is doing. There is no CTA, so you're not driven to take action. And there is kind of a lack of clear messaging from this profile. So after we went through the profile optimization with him, this was the result when it comes to his profile. So you can see a very big difference when it comes to the visuals. First of all, his profile is conveying expertise. We know exactly what he does, right? We know that he simplifies M&A, mergers and acquisition for GCC leaders. And we know that he's the CEO at his company, which is AM Capital. We also have a clear visual identity. We find the same colors within the picture and within the banner, and then within his company page as well. We have also a clear understanding of what people can reach out to him for. If they want to work in the finance space, if they want to know more about mergers and acquisition in the GCC, they know that he's a thought leader in that. And the question you might ask yourself is, how does this translate somehow into business impact? So this, in his case, translated into an increase in his profile views. So he went from an average of 200 to 1,027 profile views on a weekly basis. This also translated into an audience growth, obviously, of almost 1,000 followers gained during the first month, but also obviously into a raise in his content performance and on the amount of times that his posts were being seen on other people's field. Besides that, this also translated into 13 new business opportunities for him within the first month. So people started understanding what he does and why they should reach out to him, and they started actually sending him messages about potentially working with him, which is, one of the goals that we often have as founders. Which takes us here to the impact that profile optimization will have on your LinkedIn profile. The first one is obviously visibility. The more your profile is optimized, the more other people will see it and it will be pushed in their suggestions. The second one is thought leadership. What does thought leadership mean? It means that you're being recognized as a leading figure or as an expert in your domain. Having a strong profile increases your chances of being recognized as a thought leader in what you do. Third one is obviously network strength. We have spoken about visibility as the first step. The more your profile is optimized, the more it will be visible, the more people will be eager to connect with you. This in exchange will bring many people to start connecting, to start following you, to start being part of your audience, which will strengthen your network. Fourth one, obviously, as a response to your network growth, will be an engaged audience. The more people start interacting with your content, the more the algorithm will suggest your posts to people who are outside of your network, which will add visibility and will add followers to your profile on LinkedIn. And last but not least, as we have seen in Marwan's case, is new business opportunities. As a founder, you want to attract investors, you want to attract clients, you want to attract an audience. You need to make sure that your profile is optimized in a way where they can come to you and they can find you easily. Which takes us here into the second step of building a strong personal brand. We have said that the first one is the profile optimization. The second one here is going to be what we call a content engine on LinkedIn. So we all know that LinkedIn and the algorithm on the platform works through content. The more content you're going to be posting, the more relevant your content is, and the more audience you'll be able to grow. If you look at some couple notes that are included in the slides here, you will see very quickly that content is your biggest asset as a founder. So many people make the mistake of optimizing their profile and then leaving it dormant. So they don't use it anymore. They don't start posting. They just leave it there and they hope that some magic will happen. People will find them and then they will guess what they do directly. That is not the case. Profile optimization is going to be the first content pillar of your strategy. The second one is going to be about being active on the platform and sharing content that resonates with your audience. The way you're going to be doing this is by building your content engine, as we have mentioned. And I really wanted to include here on this slide 3 types of content that you should really know about and that you should keep in mind when it comes to building your LinkedIn personal branding strategy. These ones are educational, inspirational, and magnetic. And we're going to deep dive a little bit into each of them to really make you understand the difference and the impact that they can have in your branding strategy. So 3 content types you have said. First one is educational. What is an educational post? Essentially, an educational post on LinkedIn is going to be a post that conveys your expertise and that is teaching your audience about something. For instance, let's take the example of a client, as we have said, working in finance. An educational post could be sharing some information about the latest trend in the financial industry when it comes to a specific market. Through this post, you're going to be able to show to your audience that you're a leader in your field, that you can educate them and you can teach them something about the industry where you work. Some examples of educational content could be MVP successes when it comes to your business, your wins as an industry leader, or also, as we have said, some industry insights and what is going on in the moment in that specific market. The second type of content is going to be inspirational content. What is inspirational content? These are pieces of content where you're going to be establishing yourself as an authority in your field. How do you do that? By opening up and by connecting with your audience on an emotional level. We have said this in the beginning, but people want to connect with people. They want to buy from people and they relate to people. So you need to make sure that you're not just sharing educational content and talking about industry insights, but you're also talking about your story. Who are you as a founder? What motivates you? What is your mission? What is your why? What are some challenges that you had to, struggle with, and how have you been able to walk away from them stronger? What have you learned? And how has this been able to, affect your journey within your business? The third type of content is going to be magnetic content. Magnetic content is essentially content that is going to be helping your audience to take action after reading the 2 pillars of your content strategy. Magnetic content is going to be directed to clients, to PR agencies, to investors, to sponsors, and to anyone who you want to really make them join you on your journey as a founder. Magnetic content could be, for instance, client case studies, partnership announcements, industry recognitions, anything that really highlights your position in the industry and that tells people these are our achievements and this is the reason why you should be working with us. I tried to also include here some examples for you to keep in mind. I'm sure Sadie will also share the slides so you can take the time to read them afterwards. But so many times I get founders asking me, how do I write educational, inspirational, magnetic content? I have no idea. So these are some how-to prompts that you can use for creating your content strategy. I always advise in the beginning to have a mix of educational, inspirational content first, at least 2 educational, 1 inspirational posts weekly, to make sure you're building this trust with your audience before you bring in the magnetic content approach, where you're trying to convert them, to sell them something, or to push them to take action. So really see the beginning of your LinkedIn branding journey as a way of understanding your audience needs. What do they like to read about? How can you make yourself relatable when it comes to, their perception? And how can you provide them with the maximum value that you can? So for instance, you will see here for the educational prompts, some things that you could be using from your perspective is how I was able to refine my pitch deck to secure investment interest, for example, or how I was able to learn the hard way that, scaling the hard way can backfire. And why, how did I learn to kind of manage this, understanding of this mistake that I made to action better and to achieve a better outcome on the long run. Same here for the inspirational content. You will see some prompts that you can definitely kind of play around with and try to draft some posts that are related to your own story. Some of them could be, for instance, 2 years ago, I started my company or I started my initiative. Today, this is the outcomes that we have achieved. This is really going to be relating to people who might be on the same journey as you. Maybe they have just started as founders. Maybe they haven't achieved certain milestones that they set for themselves. So they will see you as an inspiration and you're going to be able to connect with them on a human level. Last but not least, as we said, magnetic content. So this is also something you can try to play around with to be able to, draft your initial magnetic posts. One framework that works really well on LinkedIn is the problem awareness plus solution one. So for instance, you can be addressing to your audience, asking them a question. Are you struggling with this specific problem? In this case, the problem is obviously something that you can solve through your solution. And then you continue the post by saying, we've just launched this feature, or here's how we have helped the client to actually overcome this struggle. This is going to be showing your audience that you're strong in what you do, that your product or service is recognized for working, and that you have secured some very strong client testimonials and case studies that are going to push them to take action and to come and work with you as well. Amazing. So we're getting into the deep dive of building a content funnel through the three pillars that we have mentioned. So we said content should be inspirational, educational, and magnetic. But how do you actually build what we call a content funnel, and what is a content funnel on LinkedIn? So for those of you who might not know what a content funnel is when it comes to marketing, a content funnel is essentially a framework that is going to guide your audience through a specific journey, which usually goes from top of the funnel awareness, middle of the funnel engagement, and then end of the funnel or lower funnel conversion. So this is the journey that the potential people who are going to be following you will be going towards ideally. LinkedIn is extremely important because it really pushes this content funnel approach when it comes to your posts. And here is exactly what your LinkedIn marketing funnel approach should be looking like. So we have talked about educational, inspirational, and magnetic content. How do we actually leverage those? Yes, you will receive the presentation. I will make sure she sends it. But yeah, how should we actually be leveraging our learnings from the past slides when it comes to educational, inspirational, and magnetic? First of all, we need to keep in mind that the top of the funnel when it comes to your marketing funnel is going to be awareness. What happens in the awareness stage is that people start learning about the problem that they have and that they want to solve that perhaps they didn't know about. In your case, the problem needs to be related to the solution that you're offering. For instance, imagine the problem is lack of knowledge in a specific industry. Maybe you're an educational company who provides knowledge in the financial space, and to respond to the needs of these people who might not know much about driving financial decisions. This is the awareness stage. You want to make sure that these people understand their lack of knowledge and take action when it comes to it. Second part, or middle of the funnel, is going to be consideration. The consideration stage is when your potential prospects start looking into potential ways to solve the problem that they understood they were having in the first place. In this case, what is going to be working really well is inspirational content. When people are considering something, the driving factor that will make their decision happen from an A to an B solution is the inspirational factor. If they see that they relate to solution A more than solution B, and when I say relate, I'm talking about an emotional level of, something related to their emotions, to who they see this person being, what drives them to relate to a person more than the other, they will most likely go with one of the two solutions. The third one is going to be loyalty conversion as the bottom parts of the funnel. When it comes to this, you want to be able to drive your leads or your prospects to take action on the last stage. And what is going to be working really well on LinkedIn when it comes to that is magnetic content. So once you have educated your prospects about the problem that they have, you have inspired them that you're the right solution for them for X, Y, Z reasons. Now you need to make them understand what are the results that you were able to drive for similar clients. The way you do that through content, as we said, is by sharing case studies, business achievements, partnership announcements, where you're clearly taking them through the process that you have used for these specific clients and how you were able to take that client from point A to point B so that they can find it relatable for themselves. Third, last but not least, step of building a strong personal brand. So just to recap very quickly, we have talked in the first place about profile optimization. Why is it important to have a strong profile? In the second place, we have talked about content engine. How do you build a content strategy? How do you shift between educational, inspirational, and magnetic content? The third step for a very strong LinkedIn personal branding strategy is going to be strategic networking. And you might think, what the strategic networking is? Why is it not just networking? What does the strategic have to do in there, right? What you need to keep in mind is that when you're posting content on LinkedIn, you need to make sure you're connected to the right people who can see it and take action on it. It doesn't make any sense to publish content on a constant basis or on a weekly basis if the right people are not reading it. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to serve a purpose. It's not going to convert prospects in your case as a business owner. So what you need to do, besides optimizing your profile and creating content, is to really make sure that you're taking the time every week to connect with your potential dream audience, as you call it. So how do you do that? You sit down for 20, 25 minutes a week, and you send connection requests to at least 20 to 25 people from ideal ICP or ideal client profile. This could be, for instance, clients, this could be investors, this could be CEOs in a specific industry that you might be targeting. But this strategic networking approach is really what is going to make sure that you're growing your network in a smart way, and that you're going to be able to provide value to the people who need it the most. Just for you to go through a specific framework of how you can do some strategic networking. First of all, you need to be finding your ICP. You need to know who your ideal client profile is and to understand what are their needs. The way that you can do this is by sitting down and mapping out the value of the services that your business provides. This is going to be able to help you to identify your target audience. The second thing is to be able to connect with them. The way that you can find these people on LinkedIn essentially is by going through the search bar and by using specific keywords to find them. For instance, if you're looking for investors based in, let's say, LA, for instance, you can do that by typing in the word investor, you go through the filter, you add in the location, and this allows you to find exactly the people that you're looking for, to add them to your network and to message them separately. What you can also do to make sure that your content gets seen by the right people is to create content that resonates with the people that you have just added to your network. If you have just added a bunch of investors based in LA to your LinkedIn profile as your audience, make a post about it. Make a post about the fact that you're looking for investors, that you have just signed a new investor to join you in your business. Make sure that they know what is the reason behind the fact that you search for them in the right place. And this is why we call this strategic networking and not just networking. Make sure you're not just adding random people into your LinkedIn network. I tried to sum it up in here as well and to give you a couple of tips that you can get started with when it comes to strategic networking. And you will see that this essentially goes through the steps that you have already mentioned. Make sure that you map out the right people. Make sure that you connect with at least 20 to 25 people weekly. Just for your knowledge, the weekly limit on LinkedIn is 100 invites per week. So you definitely have a lot of room to connect with more people than that if you'd like. And the second thing is going to be engaging with your network's posts. If you have just connected with someone who's also creating content, like a post, leave a comment, send them a DM about something that they have recently shared. This is always something that goes a long way because it shows that you support their mission and you support them in their content creation journey. And they are most likely to do the same if you're creating content on your end. which takes us to the end of this presentation. And I just wanted to take you through some strategic networking results and to show you how being able to strategically network on LinkedIn can bring you value as a founder. Obviously, first pillar, which you have seen in the past slide as well, is going to be visibility. So the more you're going to be able to engage with industry peers and with potential clients or investors, the more this is going to be positioning you as an expert in what you do. The second one is going to be the fact that you can leverage this as a cost-effective growth. As we have seen, the reach on LinkedIn is huge. You are able to reach a lot of people with a very low inputs. So if you're able to create content and to make sure that it's being reached by the right audience, do that. This is your best asset as a founder, especially when your marketing resources are limited. You can create content and reach many people at a very big scale. Last one but not least is going to be expanded opportunities. The more content you create, the more people will see it, the more people will connect with you, and the more people will reach out to you. So really make sure you leverage this when it comes to new clients, to partnerships, investments, but also to career advancements. And that is going to take us to the Q&A. So I'm going to pass it over to Sadie, who I'm sure will be able to coordinate this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this. This is so insightful. I personally feel like I've always kind of had a LinkedIn and thought about it as a complement to my own professional career, but to think of it as a real core strategy is a really cool way to activate in a free way. I just feel like this is phenomenal.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'd love to hear if folks are doing some of these things, if there is anything in particular that stood out to anyone, just to hear how everything was resonating.
Yes. Can you speak?
So Angeline.
Yes, I say, first of all, I want to say thank you so much, Sukana. I hope I spell your name right. Sukana, I mean, thank you. I feel lucky to be here. I mean, the knowledge you have shared is just amazing. I mean it that. You understand that? It's amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I've learned so much, extremely valuable. My question was, I mean, I present myself, I work in education. I'm a computer science lecturer, so I'm starting my own educational company. You see what I mean? And I was looking into, looking into personal branding. I've read a lot about content, but what you have shared today, I have learned so much, and I cannot thank you enough. And my question was, do you do consulting?
I do, absolutely. I'll make sure I leave my LinkedIn profile in here so you can reach.
Thank you very much. I will be a happy client. I mean, what you have shared is just amazing. Thank you
so much. I really appreciate it.
No, it's me who have to thank you.
It looks like we're collecting some questions in our Q&A section. Feel free to put them in the chat too, so we'll pull from there. Raya asked, how would you phrase your headline if you are a multiple business owner and they all need equal traction?
Absolutely. So in this case, I wouldn't base my headline on my business. I would base it on my mission through those businesses. We must often have a common mission for all of the initiatives that we have. For instance, if your mission is to help people to, have access to education, you can use that. You can phrase it as your why. So instead of focusing on the business mission, focus on your mission as a human being, because most of the time that stays the same and that reflects the different initiatives that you take.
Can I just add, Sukana? Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And a really great presentation. So I guess my biggest worry is that the businesses that I'm doing, one of them is a digital agency where I work with small businesses. The other one is a property development company. And then the third one, I've literally just launched 2 startups. One, which is doing an AI-based venue to event matching platform. And another one is 3D rendering for properties. They're all completely different. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, somewhere down the line, there might be something that a thin line that would come through and I'm going to find a pattern there. But it's really a struggle because my digital agency, which has been running for 10 years, is equally as important for me to drive traffic and get leads and be in my connections over there, because I've got more than 2,000 connections. I've been doing it for 10 years, but my new business is completely different. And by no way my profile is as optimized as what you've mentioned. So I really need to get my act together, but I'm still struggling with just getting the message across, just the headline across. It's so difficult for me.
Makes sense. In this case, what I would do, I would start thinking about the kind of content that you want to post about. Let's say if you were to start posting next week what is it that you would share about? Would it be your business learnings? Would it be your learnings from your founder's journey? Would it be your understanding of the edtech space? Would it be your understanding of the marketing agency space? According to the content that you're going to be sharing, you can come up with a general headline that goes through it. If you see what I mean, like if you want to talk about leadership across these 3 different businesses, that could be something to include in your headline, for instance.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Welcome, but absolutely happy to take this offline and, to take the time to speak with you and to see how we can make that work for your businesses.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Oh, I'm muted. Thanks, Raya. Hasada asked, what is the right frequency of creating content so that one doesn't come out as pushy?
I would say not more than 3 times a week, especially if you're getting started. You want to warm up your audience to seeing you in their feed. You want them to see, for instance, Raya or Sadie posting and to understand what they're posting about and to start gaining interest. If you post more than that, I would say it sounds a bit spammy. The more you're able to grow an audience, the more often you're able to post. For instance, of course, you might decide to introduce some new marketing channels, like a newsletter. In that case, you could do the 3 standard posts on LinkedIn, plus a post announcing your article from your new newsletter. That makes it kind of more organic and less spammy.
Love that. I'm going to go to the hand-raised queue.
Yeah.
Sophia, let me see if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It looks like you're the first in line. Did you have a question? Sophia? You're muted if you're chatting now. We can't hear you. Okay. Might go to the next, but let us know if you have a question. Purva, do you have a question?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this session. I really appreciate it. My question is basically, I feel so underconfident to post on LinkedIn to share my thoughts. I feel I'm not ready. I feel I don't have enough experience. I always I think of posting, but then I go back and I back off and I say maybe next time or maybe after some time. I don't know. How do I deal with this?
I would ask, what makes you feel not confident about posting? What is it exactly?
Maybe the fear of failure. I feel maybe I post and not I know likes don't matter, but somewhere down the line I feel maybe if I don't get enough likes, I'll feel I'm not posting the right stuff or something like that. Maybe. Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. So I speak with a lot of people who deal with the same challenge, and the way that I usually phrase it is that you need to look at it from 2 lenses. The first lens is that there will always be someone who's more competent and more experienced than you, but there will always be someone who's less competent and less experienced than you as well. So when you're talking to your audience on LinkedIn, always talk to the people who are less experienced and who can learn from you. This is going to help you to gain confidence and to put you in a place where you're proud about your achievements and you're going to be sharing learnings with them and coaching these people almost, and you're going to be having an impact on them. The second thing, the second pillar is, as you said, likes don't really matter. I'm actually, very surprised to tell you that through my journey on LinkedIn, I've learned that some of the lowest performing posts are the ones that drive more business engagement. For instance, you can have someone who's posting and who's getting 20 to 25 likes, but who's generating leads from the post. So if your goal on LinkedIn is to start getting clients, the engagement doesn't really matter. And I think the more you detach yourself from the numbers, the more you're able to grow and to have a bigger impact on your audience as well. So I definitely think about this too. And I would definitely tell you that the experience that you have is very valuable. And I'm sure that you have a lot to share with others. So please don't keep it hidden, share it with us as well.
Wow, I love the fact that you said we should share what less experienced people might expect or would benefit from. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome. Thank you for the question.
Rebecca, did you have a question?
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for this really informative session. This was great and has me thinking about how to sort of think about my posting strategies. Now, one thing that I have done, I have been one of the offenders that just I've connected with just thousands of people on LinkedIn. And back in the day, I thought, well, I want people to know about the work I was doing. So let me just connect with a lot of people and accept lots of requests. But now I'm looking at my my network and it's half the people I don't know, or more than that. So how would you recommend sort of strengthening the connection that I have?
Absolutely. Makes sense. I would say, first of all, until you have reached your connection limit, this shouldn't be a big issue. This is going to start being an issue once you start posting content and you will see that your audience is not really reacting with it. I would say once you post your first pieces of content, go through the people who usually like your content and your posts, see who they are. Are they CEOs? Are they experts? Are they coaches? Which position do they hold and in which industry do they work? This is really going to help you to define who your ideal client profile is, as we have seen, and to understand who of these people you should be adding more. And that's your strategy moving forward. You make sure that the people you're accepting into your network and you're reaching out to kind of look like the audience that engages with your content. Well, most welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Aurora.
Hi, can you hear me well?
We can.
Great talk, thank you. Very insightful. I've learned a lot. And one of the challenges that I find in LinkedIn is actually kind of demonstrating what you mentioned, like be more specific, or at least to talk about the future as well, not just about what you do currently, like maybe your passion or how you see it evolving in maybe in the next future for yourself. Would you say in the titles to kind of be how lengthy, if it makes sense, should you be? Like sometimes I feel like, am I putting a lot of stuff? Like going 2 lines, 3 lines. I'm a bit worried sometimes if I put too much, it becomes like overwhelming for people who tend to go to your site. I don't know. Do we have advice or tip on that?
No, makes sense. I think what really matters is the content that you're posting about. Like the length of the post doesn't really matter. Obviously, you want to keep it as concise, as short as possible, and as instructive. But really make sure you're focusing on the message that you're providing through your post. What does that mean? That means really reflecting on what is it that you want people to feel when they read the post. Are you teaching them something? What is the value you want them to gain through your post? Once you really do that, you will see that it will come very easily for you to start writing posts, and you will write just the perfect length of posts naturally. But when you're overthinking it and you're writing, but you don't really know what's the outcome of this post, you will tend to overwrite most of the time and to use a lot of empty words and empty sentences that make the readers very bored.
Mm-hmm.
I would say one thing to keep in mind would be having a strong hook. The hook is the first sentence of a post. So you want to have that sentence that is as engaging as possible. If I can give you an example of a hook, that could be 10 things I have learned as a founder, 5 things that completely shifted my perspective of the marketing space. This is something that drives attention and makes people more likely to read the rest of the post, no matter how long is it.
And also, I think maybe because I'm involved in AI, a lot of people tend to use, obviously, AI to help them write this post, right? So what would you say about that? Being careful for people to actually, because the moment you see generated text, sure, it helps into maybe be more concise or grammar, but at the same time, it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't come from the person itself actually put a lot of thoughts into it. So what is your advice on that as well?
Absolutely. So I'm going to share with you the way that I use AI, for instance, when it comes to LinkedIn branding. I use AI for helping me with content ideas. I use AI for understanding which topics are trending on LinkedIn right now. That gives me a list of things and a list of prompts that kind of push my brain into action of how that specific prompt can be related to my own experience of it, if you see what I mean. That's the thing that I would definitely tell you to use AI for, as a support tool and as something that helps you to have more mental space to grasp ideas that you were not aware of. But I would definitely not be using AI for drafting posts, because AI is very bad right now at drafting LinkedIn posts. It's very easy to recognize when a post is AI driven. So I would rather ask it for inputs and then take the time to relate those inputs to my experience and then share posts out of that.
Great. Thank you.
Most welcome.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Most welcome.
Yeah, I know we have time for a couple more questions, and we'll be able to do those. Real quick plug before more folks have to drop. I'm gathering the questions if we don't get to all of them that are in the chat. So if you want to add those there, we can maybe do like a Q&A doc. So kind of if you're open to that, maybe like
Absolutely.
send it out. Okay, perfect. So we can get to all of those. Quick plug, we have our deep dive session around personal branding next week. Just a reminder, same time, next Thursday. So feel free to register for that. The registration link is in the invite for this session. So Yeah, just want to make sure folks can join that. If you can, we'll record that too. So if you register there and you know you can't make it, we'll send that recording out at the end of next week. Okay, cool. Great. 4 minutes left. Let's see. Destiny.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the session. So my question is, how do you build a brand on LinkedIn and create content on LinkedIn when you have different ICP segments? Let's say, example, your business provides communication services for AI founders, and then you also like providing resources for young people to grow in their career and their finances. These two segments, they have such different needs and different content that will resonate with them. So how do you build a content strategy that doesn't make you feel like you're all over the place and you're still...
Makes sense. We lost you, Destiny, but I think I got the question. So I think this is kind of very close to the first question that we got. How do you build a personal brand and a content strategy where you have different businesses and different focuses? My understanding from the businesses you have mentioned is that on one end, you help companies, and on the other hand, you help individuals. So that is already a common point. So you obviously help them with different resources and different approaches, but your mission statement or your passion is helping people to achieve a specific outcome. This most likely means that you're very likely to share content about leadership, AI, and perhaps, let's say, industry-related knowledge. That could be something in common that you can use to draft a headline that relates to all of the businesses that you're currently working on. As we have said, the headline doesn't need to be business-specific, it needs to be mission-specific. The mission is based on who you are as a human being, on what drives you. Are you passionate about leadership? Are you passionate about helping others, about achieving a specific outcome, as you mentioned? That is going to be your focus for the mission statement. Focus on that. Don't focus on your services. Focus on who you are as a human being and what is your mission behind it. I hope that answers. I think we lost you.
Thanks, Sukaina. Selin is the last one. Did I pronounce that correctly? Celine? Oh, can't hear you, but it doesn't look like you're muted. Shoot. We can't hear you, but if you'd like to input your question in the chat, we can answer that as a follow-up also. So sorry. I know sometimes the GVC's audio is a little wonky. All right. That looks like all the questions we had, or all the folks that had their hands raised, all the questions that were in the chat, we've collected those. Quick reminder, give us the feedback in our feedback form. We'll send that in an email afterwards. And again, we'll send the recording out and follow up with all the questions that we weren't able to answer in session by the end of the week. So keep an eye out for that. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Sukaina, for bringing your insight to this community. This is so incredibly helpful.
Thank you for having me, and very nice meeting everyone. Let's definitely connect to LinkedIn and stay in touch.
Perfect. Thanks, folks. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.